Hello everybody, this is Cody and I'm here to give you a brief overview of ServiceNow. Today we're basically going to talk about the workspace. This includes the basic structure of the user interface, the main banner frame, the application navigator, and the ITIL Homepage. Now to get started, we'll want to navigate to ulr.service-now.com. This is where you'll log in and access the ServiceNow application to get started. So we'll go ahead and start there. Now when you get to the login screen, it's going to be a familiar login screen. We'll be using our NetID and password, and then once logged in, it's going to take you to the main home page that we'll all work from. Now, so what you'll see is it takes you right here to this main home page. Across the top, you'll see the main banner frame. It's the one that is global. It will follow you throughout ServiceNow, as well as the application navigator here on the left. This is going to look different to everybody based on what roles you're assigned within ServiceNow. Because I'm an admin, mine is going to be very long and comprehensive. But don't worry, your application navigator should be much more streamlined. And I'll show you in later video demonstrations how to actually create your favorites so that you can further filter this list. So starting first, we're going to kind of talk about the basic structure of ServiceNow, and this is going to basically be what you're seeing right here, the user interface. So we have the banner frame across the top, like I said. We have our application navigator down to the left. We have our homepage title, and these are really what you really need to become comfortable with starting out to effectively use ServiceNow. Now, looking at this banner frame across the top, on the left you have the ServiceNow logo. If you click this, it will always bring you back to the ServiceNow homepage. And just remember, your homepage is going to be the last homepage that you visited. So if you click that button and it takes you someplace you're not familiar with, you'll just want to come over to this drop-down list right here, and you can look through the various homepages. Everything at the top is going to be either a custom one you've created, so just keep that in mind. But I'm going to go ahead and move this down to the ITIL homepage, and we'll discuss further how to customize that later. So on the right-hand side of the banner frame, you're going to see your information. This is going to be, where your name is displayed so you can see what user you are. This is important for people who have admin privileges. So you'll notice that you have an option to impersonate a user. This kind of reminds you of who you may be impersonating. You also have the option to log out, as well as to change your profile information or review your roles. Here we have our global search. It does have a list of most recent searches, which is handy, but this is going to search all of ServiceNow. So anything you search within this area is going to lead to like a knowledge base article, an incident record, change record. You'll become much more familiar with what many options and what many areas this is going to search. We also have the connect chat right here. This is going to toggle a sidebar. We don't use this a whole lot within our organization, but you're not told that you can't. I think different people use it depending on their preferences. I know some people prefer Hangouts, but this is baked right into ServiceNow and can be a quick and easy way to communicate with your peers. Next to that, we have our help sidebar. You click this button and it's going to show you any associated help articles or knowledge database articles. One key benefit of this as well is if you click this icon here, you can get further help. You can search ServiceNow's official document database, as well as have access to their user guide. Also, a key one that we're going to be slowly rolling out is the take a tour button down here. This is real handy for if you get to a page, you're not quite sure how to navigate it or to use it or what the form is requesting. If you look in the help, you may find take a tour, and it will take you through a guided tour of that page and form to give you a better understanding of what is expected for those fields or how to proceed with that form. All right, and then the final thing on the banner frame is going to be the settings right here. This will trigger a pop-up. You'll notice that there are general, theme. You can change the color of your setup if you like. Perhaps you want a rose interface, black and white interface. You're welcome to change this how you see fit. I usually just stick with the main system interface. Now, in my test instance, I do use a highly contrasting different one just so I know the difference between production and test. You can change how lists are done. You can wrap those if you wish. Forms. I prefer tabbed forms. That's pretty much standard across the organization. You do have the option to turn all your forms into scroll. Just note any tours that may be available for those forms if you are in scroll mode or not in tabbed forms may not function for you because those are built upon the tabbed form interface. You can choose notification information and update these different channels of notification. Most people just stick to the most generic notification, which is built into ServiceNow, and that's email, so that as there's an update on a record, you'll be notified via email with that and just filter into a label in Gmail. It's very helpful. And so that's really the banner frame. The next area we're going to look at is this on the left is the application navigator. This one is built up mainly of a filter search. This search only looks through your application modules. You have the All Applications tab here, which will list everything that your role has permissions to view. Here we have our favorites. This will list a filtered or curated selection of things that you use often that you have placed there yourself. There's a lot of customization you can do under favorites. We'll talk about that in a later demonstration, but you're welcome to play with that. There's an edit button down here. It's really self-explanatory and really catered to help you build the workspace or workflow that you prefer. And then recent. So anything that you've looked at usually within the past 24 hours will be in here. Now, if you haven't had much activity, it may go further. And of course, if you ever want to get rid of this, you can hit this little arrow down in the corner and it will tuck away nicely and only show the icons of your favorites. So I'm going to leave this out for now since this is an overview. And as we proceed, so you can kind of see how I work through this page. I like to stay on my all applications. Again, that's because I'm an admin, so I like to switch between a lot of different modules. For you, you may find it's much better suited to just use the favorites list, as it'll be much quicker for you to access those. So when you're in one of these lists, you'll notice that sometimes you'll click something and it doesn't take you to another page. That's because the applications oftentimes are just icons for drop downs. So for instance, if I go to self-service, you'll see that it drops down. I have all these other options. If I hit homepage, it's going to take me to the homepage screen. This is really handy to understand how this works. More importantly, this filter search will help take this down to a much more manageable level. And again, if you just want to play with that, you'll start noticing that there's a lot that can be done there, but mostly the favorites icon is going to be the best. So moving forward, we're going to see what we usually will do most of our work inside is this little main area in the center. I'm going to go ahead and close this help bar to open up the workspace. I'm going to tuck this to the side as well, the application navigator, so we can see the home page fully and kind of explore these components. So first, what you're going to see is the drop-down menu. This right here lets you know which screen you're looking at. There's going to be a variety of options. Mostly, like I said, your safe bet is the ITIL Homepage. If you end up making any changes to this page, you'll notice that it creates a My ITIL homepage at the top. And this is going to be where your changes are stored. And then you can create as many homepages as you want. Maybe you want to start one from scratch even. You can hit this plus icon. This will create a new homepage, blank slate, that you can then build out using the Add Content button here, as well as the Change Layout button on the far right mirrored. Adding content, of course, is going to have 3 different filters for previewing the content, and then you can drop it. So for instance, if I wanted to add another filter, filtered list like I currently have on my homepage, I would click filters. I would look through the different table options. Incident is very common. It's the most basic. And then, of course, you know, if I want to say assigned to me, it's going to create a preview of it, and I can choose where I want it dropped. And so I'm going to drop it right there. And as you see, it created an assigned to me area right here on the right. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete this. I don't really want to change that homepage for me. I'm really accustomed to my work environment. But yeah, so that's a very basic customization. You know, you can add content, you can change the layout. Perhaps you would like a different kind of way of structuring your page. You can have as many rows or columns. There are many layouts already designed in here, and so it's fun to explore, and it really provides you the customization you need. So, you know, and then the other things you want to look at is over here is there's homepage settings. You'll see that there's a refresh interval. I have mine at 1 hour. Usually I like to keep that more at 5 minutes, but like let's say I'm working on something and I don't want it refreshing and deleting my work. I can set it to 1 hour. That allows me to build my homepage without losing my progress. And then once I'm done building my homepage, I can set it to 1 minute or 5 minutes, and then that will keep it. Now there's always the option to manually refresh, of course, by clicking the refresh now button. So this, for some reason, took me to a different page, but if that ever happens, you can always go back to my ITIL homepage or select the page you wish. The one I actually work out of is going to be this one, where I have gone a bit further, and you can see I have a sticky note area where I can leave quick notes for myself. I have my incidents broken down right here. These are things that come in maybe daily on the fly that I need to finish before the end of the day, or maybe a couple days work. I have the group work where I can look and see as tickets are assigned to my group if there's anything that pertains to me, and I can self-assign it to myself. I have a weekly delete spam filter. This will come into play later as you get familiar with the incident table and the incident form. If you get an incident that was generated automatically from an email and it appears to be spam, there's a template you can apply essentially, and it comes to me for me to delete. And then you can see right here anything that I open on behalf of someone else, but it's not work for me to do. I like to filter it out so that I can track that for my clients. And then I have my works task. This is more of a service catalog items, things that people can request, and they do request routinely, like account activations or deletions. I have those set up to filter off by themselves. Go into this nice little bin right here, and I check those daily because they'll have different due dates. And so they're a little bit longer term sometimes. They can be 2 months in advance if someone does a termination EPAF really early, and so forth. And then my projects. These are things that are going to take me a bit longer than a traditional incident. Let's say 2 weeks plus. I go ahead and categorize those as a project. They get filtered out into this list for me to look at as time allows for me to pick up things and get them done for other people. This would include, you know, customizations to ImageNow, customizations to ServiceNow, routine upgrades, and stuff of that nature. So, you know, all in all, this is a very streamlined, very customizable space. ServiceNow can really accommodate many kinds of work styles. It could be as complicated or as filtered down and streamlined as you like. But I hope that this was a good introduction. And just note that if you ever have questions, you can reach out to me. ServiceNow has a huge community online. If you just Google ServiceNow community, you can access that. They have lots of knowledge-based articles, tons of ideas for how to leverage ServiceNow. But for the most part, we use this primarily for an incident tracking software, but we're looking to possibly expand it in the future. But I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope this was a great introduction to ServiceNow, and I hope to see you using it. And if you have questions, just reach out. Bye.